This is a test of the City of Palatka audio system.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Palatka Community Redevelopment Agency meeting on August 10th, 2024 at 5 p.m. I'm calling the meeting to order. We're going to start with the invocation by Pastor Mulberry and the Pledge of Allegiance led by Mrs. Jackson.
Good evening, everybody. Father, we thank you again for this day. We thank you for your loving kindness and for how you watched over us all day long. Thank you for bringing us together again, Lord, for another meeting. Pray, God, that you will give the mayor and the commissioners, give them wisdom to make sound and discreet decisions. God, in all that they undergird to do to move this city forward, we pray, God, that you would do it for them. God, give us what we need for this journey ahead of us now. We know, God, you're still in control. You're God. Besides you, there is none other. We thank you again for all that you're doing. Continue to bless this city in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Krantz, roll call, please.
Thank you. Commissioner Tammy McCaskill is not present for the record. Commissioner Justin Campbell.
Present.
Commissioner Will Jones.
Present in chambers.
Commissioner Rufus Borum.
Present.
Representative Teresa Jackson.
Present.
Commissioner Terry Turner.
Here.
Mayor Robbie Craft.
Present.
We have a quorum in the chambers, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Approval of minutes. Has everybody had an opportunity to read the minutes from the June 7, 2024 workshop, June 10th, 2024 regular meeting, and June 2024 workshop?
I move for the approval of the minutes as presented from items A through C.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion second.
I think it was correction. I started the meeting by telecommunication, but I did come in the chamber. I just want the record to reflect.
Which meeting?
The 20th, this last one, minutes on the 7th, I'm sorry, June 7th.
I'll make the motion that we accept items A through C with the amendment of reflecting that Commissioner Jones did appear in the chambers. Second.
Motion is second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Thank you. On to public comments. Is there anybody here for public comments? They will be limited to 3 minutes. You can give your city of residence and also make it respectful and not in defamation of any character for any individual. And we will not be acting on them. And I think I said that at this time. Is there anybody here for public comment? Seeing none, we'll close public comment and we'll move on to presentations.
Mayor.
Yes.
I'd like for us to acknowledge, I know we previously had the conversation with regards to having meetings without an attorney present, and to note that we do not have our city attorney present this evening, and want to bring that to the forefront because we just had that dialogue and discussion previously, and most recently at some of our commission meetings. And I do see that this is a report and presentation, but I do see during our regular business component that there are questions with regards to direction and recommendations that possibly would warrant the presence of an attorney with regards to depending on how the discussion may go.
Duly noted for the record. Thank you. Presentations of the June 30, 2024 quarterly financial report. Ms. Cardy?
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
would it be appropriate at this time to ask that we add an item to the agenda for the presentation from Ms. Janetta Salier?
You can do that. I was going to wait till the quarterly financial report presentation and add it afterward, but if you would like, that would be fine.
Okay, as item B, I would like to ask that you add her presentation with regard to the Blue Crab Festival.
Do we need a motion to modify the agenda?
It would be preferable if you would not mind.
Somebody want to make a motion to
I
modify?
make a motion that we accept this item as item B.
A second.
The motion is second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Thank you. Ms. Carter.
Good evening, Mayor. Commissioners and all that are in attendance. Our quarterly report as of June 30th, 2024, starting at page 17.
Son, can you blow it up?
I'm sorry, page 17. Right. Okay, so basically it shows that we've generated 1,004,548. And that's consisting of the 819,000 from our property tax for all three districts. Additionally, we had contribution for benches, and we had sale of Hammock Hall of 131,000. And we also had some proceeds of 51,000 from sale of surplus. So that's the total revenue as of June 30th, 2024. And our disbursements for downtown district on page number 2, you will see that it's 131,000. Our expenses year to date for the downtown district. And on page number 3 for the South Historic District, our disbursements of 35,627,000. And then finally for North District, the amount is 35,394. So all together for all three districts on page 4, as of June 30th, 2024, we spent 202,332. And so we have revenues in excess of the expenses, or our net results of 802,216. So that is the amount of surplus of revenues that we had as of June 30th, 2024.
Any questions of Ms. Carter?
What's the next page, please? Page. Okay, so this is preliminary as of June 30th, 2024. Sorry about that. As you can see, the unspent funds, that's what I want to target. You see, I have it broken out by district. So 495,000 for the downtown, 279,000 for South Historic, 26,000 for North Historic. And so that gives you a snapshot as of June 30th, where we were. The 802,216 was unspent. Preliminarily, we were trying to figure out like what's going to be the cash balance forward. But again, that was as of June 30th, 2024. Now, when we get into the budgeting part, you'll see that we actually spent more money in the month of July.
Yeah, because the last meeting, I think you said 1.4, didn't you?
Right. So these numbers now were more precise as of June 30th, 2024. And so there are some other factors that I needed to consider, mainly looking at that cash balance forward, things of that nature. And by meeting with persons that more intimately involved with CRA, I came to a better understanding. And when we're looking at the budget, you're going to see me even have a different number. So that's as of June 30th, 2024. Okay.
Any questions? Okay, thank you. You have a question?
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
on here, it says miscellaneous expense, North Side Historic expense, but it doesn't actually say what it was, what the expenses were. When it breaks down from the account.
Okay, and with district.
Go back to, well, all of them are broken down that way on page 4.
Right.
So you have expenditures saying that money went out, but it don't say exactly what it went out for.
So
Is there somewhere we'll find that?
Yes, sir, it is, but also, can you make that larger anywhere on the thing there? Miscellaneous, because I believe what's happening is that it's zero in the actual, right? Okay, yeah, that's really, really good. Thank you. So miscellaneous expenses, I did a quick glance for all the districts for this fiscal year is actually zero. So those numbers that you see, that's like 900. So those are budget numbers, but there's only been, for instance, the one we're looking at, it's only $27 that was spent in miscellaneous, the actual expense. Those are budget, but actual expenditures, like either zero or North Historic. Let me look at the other one. For South Historic, it's also zero. So those are budget numbers, but nothing was spent. And on page 2 for downtown, okay, $70 was spent in the year that ended September 30th, 2023. So the numbers that you are looking at, that you do see some activity, those are just budget numbers, but monies was not spent generally.
So I'll go to the specific one I was asking about. And I do see it,
Mhm.
reimbursed general admin expense.
Yes, now that, you want me to explain that?
Yeah.
Okay, so that is the CRA receives services from various departments such as finance, legal. I'm sorry, I don't have that list in front of me, but the various departments that provide services to CRA, we have to charge them on a monthly basis for supporting that particular department. So that's what that is.
I get it, but as I was requesting, to have it broken down so we'll know exactly. what it is.
Okay,
And that's why I asked you, is it somewhere where we would see it?
I can give that to you. I will provide it to you, sir.
Nah.
Okay, I'll make sure of it. Thank you.
Mr. Bell, item B in presentations, Blue Crab, are you going to introduce Mr. Valero?
Sure. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like to ask Ms. Genetic to come to the podium.
I was afraid to say your last name.
Yes, because I always butcher it, so.
Valero.
Savalera, right? To give us a presentation with regard to what the Blue Crab Festival can look like in the future and what our agreement, proposed agreement might entail.
And can you give your full name and city of residence for the record?
Janetta Ceballero, St. Augustine, Florida.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, I'm sorry, this is an emergency item, so I wasn't prepared. May I ask if there's a timer or not?
10 minutes. I was
Thank
just
you.
going to say that. Thank you.
I'd like to thank the commission and the city staff that's present in the building tonight for their ongoing support and help in executing the Blue Crab Festival every year. It is a big, big project. So I definitely am grateful for the community support that we have seen in our 3 years. We had a great year this year. We sought to each year solve problems that arose and mitigate risk. And something like an event of this size is always a little bit of a moving target. The budget changes, the capacity to draw a crowd can change. So our 3-year concurrent events have been incident-free. They have been uncompromised in production caliber. And I would like to call to the attention that in the back-end economic impact that we've seen and been able to consolidate through surveys and local businesses and sort of our back-end data retrieval, we have a cumulative $12.8 million impact in Putnam County over 3 years. And we have a $7.9 million impact to the city of Palatka, while placing the city on a national stage and achieving positive media attention, new commerce, and record-breaking attendance. So I definitely, when I arrived in Palatka and took on this project, didn't have a lot of data to go on historically. So I feel like it is an achievement of our team. Moving forward, each year we have sort of come back together to reach an agreement. It's sort of my desire to procure our agreement to extend for 3 years moving forward. Our ask is indicative of adding an event to the Blue Crab Festival, a halfway to Blue Crab event that seeks to highlight the local merchants of St. John's Avenue and also provide an informational packet to the citizens of Palatka, the storefront holders, a moment for vendor sign up at a discounted rate for locals, and then also highlight and announce our lineup for the Blue Crab Festival so that people can become excited about it, but have an opportunity to reach out to officials and our team each year and sort of know what to expect. In doing this, our event footprint goes from a 3-day per year annual event to 2 events, and it will be 6 actual event days. We also, in looking at our alcohol sales revenue, wanted to design a sustainable seed for the Blue Crab to come back each year and lower our ask of the city. So we propose that moving forward, our net alcohol sales come off of our annual request of the city. That way we are able to ask hopefully less and less and build a sustainable seed fund for the Blue Crab to continue. Our ask is a 3-year capped request at $150,000. And that breakdown is inclusive of both of those events, the national headliners, the staffing, all of the insurance, all of the things we've carried year after year. We also have worked alongside Parks and Recreation to develop some sustainable security and police sort of joined forces to make our round-the-clock footprint of safety airtight. And it has been all 3 years. So I think, when you're talking about an audience of this size, there is always inherent risk, but, we've sort of navigated that. Moving forward, we would like to have exclusivity in selling alcohol. I know this year there was a permitting issue at one point where a local merchant was permitted to sell alcohol, and there was some confusion about it and the legality behind it, and we worked together to work through it. It is our desire in doing the crab pot, which is the halfway to Blue Crab, that on that Sunday, if there is a local merchant who is properly permitted, they are able to sell and participate in that. We really want this halfway to Blue Crab event to be a highlight of St. John's Avenue, to open the storefronts that are empty and available for rent, and to really look at this as a commerce driver of local Palatka, and also to be able to offer that discounted vendor pricing for people within Palatka. What I have seen all 3 years is that towards the end of the vendor sign up, it just goes bonkers, and we have 200 people calling us, and they're locals and they're friends of so-and-so, and we really want to include everybody, but we have to get a little bit ahead of it. I think I've touched on a lot of things. I know I've spoken at length to people within the community. I've made an effort to reach out to everybody within city staff. I've made an effort to change hours of the event in regards to, respecting church on Sunday, and, just sort of fitting into the community really well, I think was one of our goalposts when we took on this project. And I have to say, my team of 23 to 26 people per year has come in. They've rented spaces within Palatka. They've spent money enjoying Palatka. One of them has started a business in Palatka. 2 of them have moved to Palatka. So even within our own team, we sort of have bought into the idea of the Blue Crab Festival all the way. We really appreciate the community engagement that we've received here. So I think that's it for me.
At this point, any questions of Ms. Cebollero? Otherwise, it's just a presentation and we're not really going to.
I actually have one question. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
as far as the alcohol, that you're selling, you mentioned about the impact of local merchants. Now, with you providing, alcohol, how does that impact the local merchants, or, how does that go? I'm a little.
Within the Blue Crab Festival or within so the local merchants that I was mentioning was if they received a permit from the state of Florida, they would be allowed to sell within the bounds of their storefront, like sell beer to go essentially at the event. They don't do that at the Blue Crab. At the Blue Crab, it is specifically exclusively us selling the alcohol, and it is imperative that we maintain that because we have paid staff and we have handling and liability, and a lot of rules go into an event once you've hit attendance of that size. Did I answer your question?
I have a question. And so to date, I know you guys, hopefully you guys did a after action from the Blue Crab. You guys have the numbers, and I'm interested in, I hear your presentation. To disclose, you and I had a conversation about it. I support the Blue Crab, but I need to know what these numbers and what data is that support what you're saying, and to see, is it something that's going to be beneficial for the city to put up that kind of money up front? And so between Mr. Cutright and Mr. Bell, the decisions or the conversations that have been had, hopefully you guys have seen this data. Where are you guys with it?
So, thank you for the question, Commissioner. So with a proposal of $150,000, that is considerably higher than I understood that we have provided in the past. So that would be a significant cost associated with the city providing for the Blue Crab Festival, even though it could be offset with future alcohol sales. That is, like I said, significantly more than what's been paid in the past. I believe this past year was a $50,000 amount that was paid as a supporter for the festival, but not necessarily a cost share. So I would advocate for looking at some additional mechanisms for a cost share if we were going to elevate the amount that is contributed. I don't know that I would necessarily support going up to 150,000 at this point, based on what our budget looks like and some of the other priorities that we would have to forego in order to accomplish that.
Fair enough. And you mentioned alcohol sales. So the big number is, the big question is how much, we don't know the revenue numbers. If you want to share that with us, then we kind of like.
So the first year, to put into perspective, the city of Palatka covered all invoices. That was an expenditure of about $250,000. They cleared that expenditure and came out around $300,000. In my understanding, it came out around $298,000. So all invoices were covered and there was a surplus of that amount. That first year, I took a blanket fee for just taking the project on for $15,000. That included paying my staff. That included staying in Palatka. And it ended up being about 800 hours of work. So the next year, you guys sponsored to the tune of $75,000 just as a direct sponsor. You received title sponsorship for that amount. And the third year, you elected to be a sponsor for the amount of $50,000. So we've run the gamut of sort of seeing the numbers and the support. 150. The reason for this amount is that I also in turn pay the city staff, pay the service fees on the back end. That's about $25,000 to $30,000 depending. So you can deduct that amount. I have a staff to pay as well. And we have elevated the level of the event, the talent we've gotten. And I'm trying to, I know now what I can rely on with community partnerships. I have a good basis of data for that amount, which has been about $40,000 to $60,000. This event costs about $250,000 to put on. This year, I shouldered the event myself personally, my company, to the tune of $77,000. So I'm a business person at the end of the day. I have no problem sharing our alcohol revenue with you. The first year, I believe it was around $60,000. The second year, we did very well. We did a little bit more, I think almost 71. And this past year, it was very hot. We had a little bit of a lower number in the late 40s. And that is a gross alcohol number, just to say that is not deducting the products. Your alcohol order for Palatka has ranged from $11,000 to $17,000 per year.
Oh, no, I was just trying to figure out since we first started, we're in year 3 going into year 4. And I thought we was headed in the right direction at one point. So again, because when we set the deal, we said that the city would not be taking part in it other than the initial seed to try to help make sure that it go, and we're not part of the revenue share. That means that you can disguise the limit. So the do the 150, I think will be going backwards in terms of getting the staff back involved, among other things. And I think we had a number of issues in the past when we had staff doing a lot of the trying to maintain.
Sure. So the staff is actually less involved. That's why a little bit of why this cost went up, because my staff is involved. My staff grew as your staff pulled away. So
Again, this is a presentation. We're not making any
Right,
decisions today. We're just gathering
Sure.
information.
Right. I'm just trying to figure out, how I know we went from 150 to 75 to 50. And I thought, I was praising the city for not having to spend so much in the Blue Crab, and it was taken on by a partnership. And so it's kind of.
Madam Mayor,
Yes,
Ms. Saballero has provided me handouts. May I provide them to the agency at this time?
please.
Just need to figure out what mechanisms
Just cross
and
out.
other things we got in place to be able to ensure that.
Mr. Bell and I also did speak about some additional mechanisms, parking being one of them. We did implement parking first year and we saw some great numbers with parking. That's something we haven't done the 2 years that you guys have just sponsored it. So there is definitely verifiable revenue streams that you can access.
And I believe that,
If I may.
don't believe if I've heard you, that you're looking to extend it a day or so, correct?
Yes, one day. So in looking to extend it a day and in looking to have that alcohol revenue come back into it, the ask actually will go down each year. It will not be 150. So if you're thinking 150 minus our cost to the city of Palatka, which is 30, you're at 120 with our alcohol sales on the back end. The first year would really be the only year to move it to 150. And in our first year, we were not at 150. Our first year, we were at 250 because of the length of the event, which was 72 days.
And so additionally, with not only the extension of the day, you're looking to add an event that would be halfway through, which would be the crab pot, I believe the name is.
Correct, the crab pot. And we were looking to do a Unity Day on the first weekend of November.
So I would implore our commission to take those additional things into consideration as we talk about this particular event, that we're not just looking at a 2-day event as we have, or we're looking to extend, or 2-day event. 3-day event. We're looking to extend it to
6 days.
6 days in total. So that's something to take in consideration as we deliberate and give direction.
And if I might add, I'm not privy to some of the commitments that may have been made in the past, but the Blue Crab is a premium event, and I believe that Ms. Janetta has brought a tremendous number of people from outside the community into the community. And in terms of economic development, you not only want to serve the citizens of the community, but you also want to be able to attract people from the surrounding area. And I think rather than being just doom and gloom when we talk about the numbers, I want to make sure that I acknowledge that the event that I participated in and saw did bring in a tremendous number of people throughout the community as well as outside the community. I think
I
with
think
the,
we all agree with that. I think
Yes.
that we're trying to balance that with
right,
the economics of our city and the
Absolutely.
reality of the funds that we have or don't have in this case.
And what we pay what we
Right.
paid historically, but again, if, you know, it is a multi-day event, will be expanded from 2 to 6. With I guess, leading up to the, Blue Crab, kind of help with downtown. You're gonna have a dedicated downtown.
Yeah, so
Crab pot.
the crab pot, this seeks to highlight the local merchants. So we would not put outside merchants on St. John's Avenue. The idea is to really highlight St. John's Avenue.
I like those
Right.
guys.
Mhm.
and where I was going with it, I think we can negotiate an agreement that would take into account alcohol sales on the additional days. I mean, the additional events that might help to offset the cost as well. And like Ms. Jeanette said, the parking, that's wasn't figured into potential revenue that could offset that
The
number.
parking first year revenue was $13,000.
So I think in the past, we used to use some of that fund from the general fund, correct?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I think with the event, if it's specifically to help the downtown district, and I think we could probably maybe even use some of those funds as well to try to help in that regard. I don't know if it's still allowed or not. I do know for events that's matured, I don't know, it's for seeding for the most part when you have giving out funds for Blue Crab Festival and different things of that nature. So we need to see with our attorney or.
Yeah.
Is it,
And that's something that we
is
could
it
look
something
into.
friendly that we can use in that? in
Are you
this-
saying CRA funds is what you're?
Right.
Correct, for this.
Right, because last year, if I may, city manager.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so last year, Blue Crab was given or paid 50,000 from general fund. Okay, and if we're looking at extending and this, we can have it strictly related to the districts. Yes, there may be a way to consider some funds coming from the district money. But additionally, we want to stay alert to all of the purchasing requirements, you know, such as RFP or is it sole source, you know, we still gotta kind of pay attention to that as well, I think.
Commissioner Campbell is on deck next. And the other thing that we need to, again, this is a presentation, not discussion.
Right.
For
Just a
decision.
presentation.
There was a 2019 AG decision or ruling in regards to the CRA statute that funding could not. But
Be,
that may be used for events and festivals. Now, there may be a little twist on that interpretation now. We need to learn more about that. Commissioner Campbell.
I also want us to take in consideration as we continue this discussion that in the years, we've handicapped ourselves with regards to the time frame in which we've given to dedicate to actually bringing on a successful event. We know that she's done a tremendous job in the time frame, but most times events of this magnitude literally takes a year. You end it and you begin to plan for another, but we have not given the opportunity for a full, which will offer several discounts in entertainment. The closer we get or the shorter time frame we get and planning the event, the sometime costs are greater than it would be if. So there's still an opportunity to see some positive turnaround, given if we were to go and provide a longer extension of time for the planning of this event. So I want us to take that in consideration as well.
And I think that's important why we have Ms. Sepulveda here today, because we are in
Absolutely.
budget planning season and we need to make some of those decisions prior to finalizing the budget.
But,
Go ahead.
that's Ms. Salavera's, responsibility, knowing that she's in the contract.
We agree.
Knowing, coming out of the, last event, those things probably should have already been rolling in place.
But it's hard to roll when we are the ones that ultimately provide what the say is as far as monetary value. I know that personally asked for this to be brought to our attention prior to this particular meeting. And I asked again, hence the reason why we're here today. And probably had I not said nothing, this probably would not have come before us anytime soon. So I've made the conscious acts to bring this before us so that we can make the determination of how and the way that we desire to go.
Thank you. Certainly appreciate all of your efforts. But again, we probably need to look at putting this into the contract in terms of, you know, if it's a year out, let's go ahead and make sure that within the contract performance, if you're gonna be part of that, to just make sure that that's an automatic thing to where we don't have to get involved until we're asked to do so. Let it be a contract performance as opposed to having to engage that situation, knowing that we've had the same vendor for the last 3 years.
And you would say something, Mr.
Yes. I'm the most annoying person in the world, so I promise you that when the event wrapped up, I did send emails and reach out and attempt to contact. I will also share with you last year at this time, at this date last year, we had already renewed the contract and received the check to do talent deposits. After Labor Day, talent deposits for events in the spring with national headliners go up, and they go up not like 10%, they go up like 25, 30%. So part of the urgency in my trying to reach out to you now is to effectively manage that and get ahead of it. I start talking to talent agents while they're here at the Blue Crab. So we start pitching ideas, and the artists say, you know, we had a great time. Genuine's a great example of the reason the Yin Yang Twins came was because Genuine came and said, that was so fun. He said, I drove forever. I didn't know where I was going. He said, and you told me it was going to be a party. And this year, you know, Trick Daddy called me coming over the bridge, and he said, there's people parked on the bridge. And I said, oh, they're not supposed to be. But just to say, part of that begins actually on site at the event. So part of my desire to sustainably take on the event for several years is so that that forecasting can occur and those relationships can be built on my side of the team for people working towards next year. People plan their schedules pretty far out, the entertainment, this kind of entertainment.
Absolutely.
Any additional questions? And Mr. Bell, we need to obviously address this issue and finish this discussion and make some determinations soon, so.
Correct. I'm sorry. I believe with a little bit of direction from the commission, we can pull together through negotiations, a contract to bring back to the commission for consideration.
Prior to doing so, I have one question that probably already been answered. What was the return to us?
From this last festival, it's my understanding that other than the cost of paying for staff, there was no cost share that came back to us.
My invoice was $24,000 and your sponsorship was $50,000.
And we did get some TDC funding back into the city too.
But I don't think any funds came back into our bank account.
Okay. I thought we were approved for a TDC grant. But okay, that's.
I think the year we did 75, I know you applied for TDC. The year we did 50, I know I applied for some TDC. So I don't know if you also applied for TDC.
But go ahead.
So
Yes,
as
go
I
ahead.
said in the beginning, I think we came right back to it. I think Mr. Bell, Mr. Cartwright, and finance need to get together and look at these numbers and come back and make sure, you know, what the ask is something that's palatable. If it's not, you guys need to do some negotiation before you bring it back to us. We
Yes,
make
sir.
a final decision. Y'all want us to negotiate it, but I think that's more on your side, not our side. And just see if we're gonna do what's in the best interest of the community after that's done.
I agree, but again, I don't want to compromise the integrity of what the event has been built to be. I believe that there's an opportunity for us to come and have some common ground, but again, we know when things switch hands, often they tend to lose the momentum and it loses what it potentially could be. So again, I agree with Commissioner Jones with regards to finance and all of those individuals making up and getting us where we need to be. But again, I just want to go on the record to say I don't want to compromise what the event has built back up to be.
And if I may also add one last thing, the cost of events rise every year, just like the cost of milk. Maybe not every year, but this year, the Blue Crab Festival was 16.8% more expensive than the prior year, which is substantial. And we didn't get more barricades. We didn't get more tents. So part of that is mitigating that cost on my end as a project manager, but part of that is supply and demand. You know, the Jacksonville Jazz Festival goes on that exact same weekend. Our attendance when we had Sugar Hill Gang here beat the Jacksonville Jazz Festival. So I do think that there is cause for understanding that it's not getting cheaper to throw events, and that's the reality of it on the business side of it.
Thank you. Any additional questions? Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And will we have a time certain as to when you're going to come back to the commission?
It would be my objective to come back at the August 27th, 28th meeting with an agreement.
There's no more meeting at all, unless we schedule.
Yes.
I heard.
Right.
There is I'm sorry. Losing trail of thought here. The next budget workshop is August 29th. Is that what you're referring to, Mr. Manager?
Okay, that's.
Okay.
Right. And that in order to be able to have an agreement so that we have enough runway to be able to book the talent necessary for both of those events. So.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. On to regular business, 5A CRA budget presentation and recommendation of approval. Mr. Bell? Or Miss Cotty, or both?
Go ahead.
Yes. Okay, again, we're here. So our budget for 24-25. I think that's the page 23 possibly. We are projecting that we will receive from property taxes 964,000. If you can make it bigger, that would be great. 821. And we will have cash balance forward of 1,200,000. I wanted.
What page are you?
It should be page 23.
23, that's 22.
22.
Is it 22? Is that where it's starting? Okay. And that's the largest that you can make it?
I mean, if you tell me what line to zoom in on, I can make it a little
Okay,
bit
I want you to go down to the balance there, right? Yeah, okay. All right, so 1,224,000. So our total, we expect our budget this year to be 2,188,828. We go to the next page to look at each district cost-wise. So the cost for the downtown district operating costs would be 510,000, but I want to point out that during one of the commission meeting for the CRA, we were asked to put the CRA manager information back in. And so it is allocated between all three districts. So the cost for the downtown district is 38,500 with the anticipated cost for fringe benefits is 60,965. Professional services is 75,000. the Small Business Development Center with other, well, we have 75,000 here, but that might be explained even further. The maintenance is it's maintained at the 35,000. The downtown Christmas lights is 30,000. The building improvement grants has been increased to 150,000 from the 121,000 in the prior year. And then we do have a line for capital outlay of 80,911. So that makes up that 510,399 for operating expenses.
Before you go forward,
Mm-hmm.
let's go back to this, Small Business Development Center.
Yes.
You're going to be budgeting 12,000 a year for this year, in the year, or in the September, expected 18,000.
Right.
What makes it
Orig-
go to 75,000?
So originally, my recollection is that we were at 25,000. Okay, and I think city manager can speak.
So originally going from 25,000 to 75,000 represents the possibility of the potential that funding could be used to address the Elevate Putnam request for additional funding. So
So that's okay, so that's the whole, it's not the small business development.
Correct.
That's a
Right.
combination of two
it's a
different.
combination, right? So that would have to be
That would have to be
feedback
broken
from,
out.
yes.
That would have to be itemized.
But I thought there was another take on that. I don't know if everybody said.
I thought we
yes to
talked
We
about
said
that.
No to that.
We
We,
didn't talk about it here, but I don't know what was said.
no, we talked
individually.
about it when they brought it to the commission.
That's right.
So
Right.
why are they bringing it back to
It's
the?
almost like.
Because-
Being slipped in, it's what.
No,
And it's,
no.
and it's look like it's a little bit framed up, a little bit different.
And so we have to come back with a final budget for both the funds and for the CRA. And so what we're representing here are potential ways that it can be addressed. So when we get to the final budget, we have to sharpen our pencil, obviously, and make sure that we come back with a balanced budget, taking into to account the feedback that you're currently providing us and the feedback that you have provided to us in the past.
So-
My concern is that we were all given a presentation. Each one of us, and I think we met individually. And so that's my issue and concern that is being repackaged.
So the
So,
small business development centers, we're actually budgeting or something, recommending, I should say, 25,000?
oh, yes,
Okay,
that's,
just to clear that, so.
so it was, I'll put it back.
No, I know, that's what I'm saying, I'm just asking for clarification.
So why isn't it broken out that way?
That's what it needs to be itemized.
Break that down.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
originally it was 25,000 for the Small Business Development Center. And so that's where we are. And then there's the 50,000. So we can, I just want to have the night
50,000 is about
guidance.
For Elevate. What is in here right now? We're not necessarily agreeing to anything, that's what it said, that's what it's being explained.
I want to get specific guidance, please. So the Small Business Development Center, should that be at the 25,000 or the 50,000? What number? It's 25 as we had originally. And so therefore that capital out, we'll figure out what's going to happen. Because remember, we still have some more work that have to be done. Because we have to calculate that administrative general reimbursement still even more finitely, but I've written down what you said.
I got a question, man.
Mhm.
So the submittal of the request for 50,000. Do we have any information on what the request is, what it's gonna do and
Yes.
the like?
The request that came from Elevate Putnam was for additional funding that would be used to hire an individual that would be specifically focused on retail development. And what we were proposing was the option for that the CRA to cover that cost with the caveat that that 50,000 would only be used for retail development within the CRA area.
The board see it, we would like to kind of understand if it's gonna be in the budget.
Mhm.
What's the ask?
We would like to kind of at least understand and know what we're getting for what we about to approve in a budget that we didn't know that it was in there.
Sure, and realize that we're not asking you to approve it here. This is just the presentation, but we can provide you with the documentation that Elevate Putnam provided us, and I believe they provided to the members of the commission as well, which outlined exactly what they were asking for. And I can go ahead and circulate that back to you.
I think it would be helpful. I don't know if again, somebody from Elevate Putnam can come and expressly make clear expressly exactly how. the
That's an
funding
excellent
would be
idea.
used, because it sounds good, and I've heard the Elevate Putnam presentation, and I'm optimistic, but again, if the CRA is gonna give them 50,000 and it's gonna fund a position, how are they going to ensure that it covers only the CRA district? I would want to see that spelled out, and in a job description even, that
Right.
would be helpful.
Okay, very well.
And this other small business development center, there was so we benefit, the county benefit, as I believe correctly, we asked that question of the 50,000 contribution, well, cost to us on the cost share. What is the salary for that position? If we're giving 50,000, what is the county giving?
Well, I believe the total amount that they were looking to pull together, and don't quote me on the numbers because I don't have them exactly in front of me, was 250,000. They were asking for the county to contribute, I believe, 60,000 more, as well as us to increase from the 5,000 to the 50,000. So the agreement that we're contemplating would very similar to what we do with our code enforcement, where there's an agreement where we have code enforcement officers, but the time that they spend in our CRA districts is specific to our CRA districts and compensated for that. So I would anticipate the same thing for the Elevate Putnam individual who's being hired, who is intended to be hired by the Chamber of Commerce, that person would be focusing on retail, and we would be able to clarify and identify the retail efforts within the downtown district to be compensated for.
And I also, because we are, I think, all in favor of having a CRA director position.
No.
I think, well, that's why I said I think, because I never know.
Open to
But let
consideration.
me finish my sentence, please. Because if that, we have a CRA director, it would seem to me that could be a task they could take on as well. So, yeah. Anyway, I didn't say, I said we think. That's why I didn't say we are.
But I think it would behoove us to have somebody from Elevate Putnam come in and
So
speak to that specifically, in addition to providing you with the documentation that they provided on the funding that they're looking for and the individual that they're intending to hire with that funding.
I think that would be helpful. Soon. like
Okay.
soon. I mean, again, the CRA does not meet unless we can call a meeting, but at this point, we wouldn't meet again until October, so we need to figure this out before.
Right. So, and our next meeting on August 29th was to kind of approve the budget total,
So
you
we
know,
need. well, we may
completely
have-
for the entire city. So,
I understand, and that is what I'm saying. We don't have a lot of time for them to come forward with a presentation. That's my point.
okay.
Commissioner, could we ask what Commissioner Turner think about it?
Commissioner, Turner,
Opportunity to chime in.
is he still with us? Commissioner Turner, what is your
Yeah.
question? You
I
wanted
I
to-
didn't have a question. Go ahead, sir.
Now, I just want to know your thoughts on it, sir.
Well, I think at this point in the game, until a decision is made what you want to do, that it would behoove you to put it in the budget where your hands aren't tied. And then, and then you would have the money available if you decided to do it later on.
I think that's what we've come to the decision meetings ago. It's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. So I know we drew that conclusion several CRA meetings
It
ago.
wasn't 75, it was at 50,000. That was the ask, wasn't it?
No,
At 50,
I
don't.
well, no,
It was at
50
25.
The 50, what we were talking about, I think that was dealing with the,
Small Business
this,
Development Center?
not Small Business Development Center, but it was for the,
Main
CRA
Street Manager.
Well,
The
that's a
CRA
different-
manager.
Yeah, that's different, that's
Yeah,
here
this
too.
is a whole different ask.
This is it.
This is a different ask.
It's a different ask.
So
for the
this is
whole-
in addition to the CRA manager, spot.
That's correct. So this is that 50,000, even though it's the same number, is specific to the Elevate Putnam request. It could either be funded in the city budget, or it could be funded potentially in the CRA budget. And so we're seeking direction from the commission on whether or not you would like to see it funded at all. And if you do want to see it funded, whether or not you want it funded in the city budget, or if you want it funded through the CRA.
Well, this going back, we're gonna go back again to the same thing when we talked initially, when we all met individually with Elevate Putnam. So I don't know what the rest of the commission had decided,
Mhm.
but, you know, if evidently, I'm not sure if it happened in that
Mhm.
with each individual commissioner
Right.
presentation. So if it's coming to the CRA board,
Mhm.
that tells me that it may have not been a positive thing to say that, okay, well, we're gonna commit $50,000 to that from the general fund.
And to kind of go along the lines, maybe I'm just not remembering. I don't remember having this conversation, honestly, and I don't know how it slid. The only thing that I know with regards to a position was with the CRA, because Ms. Roach had been adamant, as well as others, to take it in consideration and the need for it. That's the only reason why I said I will move for consideration and to go ahead and put it in there, just in case it's better to have it and not to need it. But this Elevate, I don't even remember having that conversation. And the fact that it's in here, and I feel that we're being pressured
You're
to, that we're being pressured, for lack of better words, to make a position or to do something, I'm not cool with, because again, I don't even know how we got to this point.
So do you want, so we're simply asking for direction. We're given the options. And if that is not the pleasure of the board, and it's not, the intent is not to.
I mean, a lot of times you all want our direction, of course, but then again, we're given and you want us to make a decision when we're coming together within a few weeks to make a full decision for the entire budget for the city, with respect to understanding that there are questions that need to be asked. And again, I don't remember having this conversation. I'm not sure if any other commissioners are privy to the conversation, but I personally do not remember having this conversation. I remember having an extensive conversation about the CRA manager, but I do not remember this particular subject being brought before us. And then again, I still make the statement, you're asking for direction, but there's clear that there's some unreadiness to move forward with this, regardless of it CRA funded or city related funded, so city general fund. But again, I understand that you all are asking for direction, but sometimes direction comes at a time where it's an inconvenience and does not allow us the opportunity to fully investigate or ask questions as warranted, without us feeling as if we are pressured to make a decision. Yes, direction is needed, but then again, the courtesy of allowing us the opportunity to not be put in a position to compromise what we feel would compromise the city is not the best practice for us to do, regardless of who, what, when, where, and how. That's just not the best practice for us when we have other things that we are taking in consideration with other roles that looks to me almost the same. So, and that's just me being completely transparent and honest.
Well,
Commissioner Brown.
okay.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Campbell, but, again, what I remember anything about Elevate Putnam, we had that meeting over at the annex, and it was specifically to, provide, they said that we were given only $5,000 a year
Mm-hmm.
No, 10,000.
No, five, it was 5.
What, 5,000.
Mm.
So they wanted 10 times more than that. They asked for 50,000. They never said anything about a position to do anything within this business district. So I'm really confused about how now that more from 5,000 being contributed to them on an annual basis
Mm-hmm.
through the Chamber of Commerce, and they're asking for 10 times more than that.
Mhm.
Because they said the county was supposed to be giving money as well, and they had private funding about a few million.
Mhm.
And so we couldn't understand how, all the funding was gonna work. And so we did not move on that. And so now we're getting a whole different pitch, saying that now it's gonna be pitched to the CRA, and you're gonna ask for a position for just strictly retail. So what are we trying to do with Elevate Putnam?
So in their original request, they did have those positions in the original request. Whether or not they emphasized that in the presentation, that was part of their original request. So what we're looking for is just a general consensus. And it seems like you're giving us direction on that. But until we have an opportunity to present this to you cooperatively, we don't know cooperatively. There's individual discussions that took place, individual presentations that the Elevate Putnam did. But and it's our responsibility to put it out there, the options that you have. But until we have a consensus back from the commission of what direction you want us to go in, we don't have that direction. As a courtesy to Elevate Putnam, we put it in there as an option. You have an opportunity to say, no, we want to go a different direction or look for something else. And that's what we're asking for.
I think the main, well, I think there are several issues, but I think it would have been more transparent if it was itemized as Elevate Putnam and it
Right.
said 50,000.
Well,
This is, we know it's a workshop, and so there was not necessarily a decision to be made that it could be there for discussion and may or may not be approved, but because it wasn't, it seems kind of.
well, it is part of the presentation that's coming. And so
It's lumped
No,
in
it's
with the
it,
Small Business Development Center, so it was a sleight of hand, I think, is what we're seeing.
oh,
here.
it's not a
I'm
slight.
not comfortable with, again, for the sake of transparent, not just for us, but for the community.
Yeah.
So they know exactly what this is.
So you'll see.
Glad Commissioner Jones did find it.
Mhm. Well, I'm going to call it out in that presentation either way, but go ahead and finish.
So with that being said, the SB Small Business Development Center, I'm putting it back to the 25,000 and that 50,000 previously, as we get more information, but for the moment, it will be back in capital outlay. That's where it was, okay? And we'll present the final version after all presentations and everything's considered.
Again, if we can have that presentation sooner than.
Yes, okay. And going forward to the next page, it's just wanted you to see that we anticipate transferring out of the downtown fund about 947,000. So our expectation is that the department costs will be 1,518,752. Okay, everyone see that? At 1,518,752. Moving on to South Historic. Again, we're allocating the CRA manager into all 3 districts. So the portion of that 55,000 that goes to the South Historic is 12,100. The salary with the fringe benefits is 19,160,000. And the only notable item in South Historic would be the building improvement grant. And that's 160,734, our new budget. Following that, we do have capital outlay of about 127,000. We expect some repairs to be completed, 324 River Street. Am I going too fast? 155,000.
Yeah.
And that yellow is just me talking and asking questions, inside. And so we expect a total budget for South Historic of 517,000. Moving on to North Historic, the portion of that 55,000 salary, 4,400. Fully loaded, 6,967. And going on to the next page, the building improvement grant is there, 83,000. And we expect some capital improvements of 50,000. Our total costs will be 152,229. So that's just giving you a breakout of, we do have a balanced budget for the CRA. And the perfection that will be required for the final budget will be us allocating out those general expenses, the general administrative expenses. And once that's perfected, then we could have a balanced budget that you can actually approve. And so our expenses are budgeted for 2,188,828.
Before you go,
Okay,
going back to the building improvements,
building up.
Off the line,
Mhm.
project ending 9/30/2024. Projected expenditure is 180,000.
What district?
This is
Huh?
page 26 of what's gonna do.
Okay. Okay. So please, what is the question?
So you're saying the projected ending amount expended, right, is $180? That's what it says.
Oh, the building improvement. Oh, yeah. Well, that's the operating persons with the CRA. That is, they just didn't feel that they were spending the funds in that particular district. So that's that North District.
So
I believe that's North District.
we're putting in the budget 83,000.
Right.
661.
Yep, we are. Because we're hoping to spend building improvement grants in the new year up to 83,000 because we really, as of this point, have not spent much at all. Even the budget for the year we're currently living in is 50,000 and we have not spent. So I believe that there's going to be a push operatively to get the building improvement grants for our constituents.
Yeah, have they been pushed? I mean,
I don't operate, so I would not know that.
It has been, there's been postcards, there's been publications. And I think it is, there is an effort to market or promote the opportunity for people. I have seen it. So I think there's a larger effort to do that.
Mhm.
it just seemed like, I mean, I'm looking for even the prior year, 120, 180.
And even if you go to the actual 2022, you'll see in that North District only $265 and $5,000 in actual the year that ended September 30th, 2023. So I believe that the operating personnel for CRA has committed to spending more funds in the building improvement grants. And that's why they put a larger number this
We
year.
have to allocate all the funds should be allocated in the CRA to monies. They shouldn't be left unallocated.
Yes.
So that's another reason to do it. I also think the reality of the building improvement grant is that it's a reimbursable program. And in spite of the rumors to the contrary, there are not a lot of wealthy people living in both districts. So for people to pay those costs up front, they probably wouldn't apply for the grant if they had that money. And so that, I think, has been why people haven't applied, because they don't have the funds to pay for the work, to wait for reimbursement. That can take a while, frankly.
So just out of curiosity, this is agency, can make it more,
User friendly.
applicable.
And
So that
Talked
people
about that.
could.
and that's what we've learned from this
We used to
process.
Have the home improvement grant, and that, the TIF HIP home improvement program, and that is exactly how it operated. It was that, the work was done, was bidded out, was done, and no money ever, the homeowner never had to go through the reimbursement process.
Yeah.
The money was directly paid to contractors from the CRA, and that, a lot of homes were rehabbed as a result
Yeah.
of that.
And that's something that we captured in the 2024-25.
That's good, but
Right.
that will make it more palatable for folks.
And so I've given you hopefully an understanding of the amount that we expect to have as a budget for CRA. We expect it to be $2,188,828. You should receive a final version as soon as a few items get clarified, mainly the reimbursement for general administration and reimbursement to utility. Those numbers have to be figured out, and also projects. And so talking about projects, I just wanted to go to that next page, 27, and just kind of give a snapshot. We clearly understand unspent funds as of June 30th, that we're at that 802 mark. That's where we are as of June 30th. I did meet with operating staff members and said, okay, what do we project to spend between July and September? They gave me their projection. As a result, we have a projected unspent amount as of September 30th. So we intend to spend, that's what we're trying to do, but we will still have about 241,000 unspent from the current year. But then we also have to consider monies that we had sitting there from prior years. So at the end of it all, we expect the balance forward to be more like 1,200,000, as we've said. I just kind of wanted to give you a snapshot of how we figure it out. And we will perfect these numbers with any last minute input that we receive.
Anybody have any questions? Of
Yeah,
Ms.
the only,
Scott?
only other one I had, I think it's on page 26, where you got a negative 161,044 under the projected 2024 ending 9/30/2024 column.
Oh, okay. Right, and that is, okay, yeah, I remember that. Right. Because I let them tell me what they're projecting. And they're projecting that by the time we get at year end, we will spend 1,165,000. If we do, like what I'd like you to do is go back to page, I believe it's 20, wherever that revenue is, color coded.
But
that's-
my question would be, then that would leave you at a negative, right?
That means that that's not bad. That's good in that case, because it means we're spending the money from prior years, which is what we want to do we're projecting that
Okay.
we
Don't wanna
will
carry
be,
over from prior
right, that
years
we're
with the
touching that balance forward number, that we're spending it down.
Okay.
And that is the goal for CRA.
Okay, as long as it's projected, but it just said net results, so.
Right,
Results
and-
is what it, it's the net.
Right, and it means that we only, like right now, we have a hard number. We've only brought in, and that's all we expect to bring in for CRA is 1,004,548. And with all the grants and so forth that they're working with, currently, they're projecting that they will spend more than that.
I would like to just see projected net or something. like
Oh,
that.
it does,
When you say-
oh, okay.
You say net.
So it says projected at the top of the
Okay,
column.
that's up there is just projected, but it's
Yeah.
a net right here.
All
This
right,
over here
so
says,
I'll put in parentheses,
results.
actual and projected,
Right,
okay?
because I'm looking at the column to the left on the account description.
Yes, sir. I feel you and I do understand.
Yeah.
So I will add that in parentheses, actual / projected.
Thank you.
Okay, because that 161 is projected. Thank you.
Mr. Bell, North and South, presentation tax increment fund, excuse me.
That's correct. So again, here I am pinch hitting for the assistant city manager on this presentation. As we did yesterday, the day before. So this is about the budget for the CRA. Go to the next. So a few photographs to highlight some of the work that has been accomplished under the CRA. Next slide, please. So then what you're looking at is TVing the lines, making sure that we are that all of our lines are appropriately working appropriately, and any repairs that need to be made. Next slide, please. And so the end result is on the left-hand side, you see what it used to look like on St. John's. And on the right-hand side, you see the end result of what it looks like now. And yes, we still have some work to be done. The punch list, I mentioned this yesterday, punch list still hasn't been completed on this. So it is not totally complete. It's not perfect yet. Once we get through the punch list, and you'll see a marked improvement in the intersections, the asphalt that was tracked into the intersections, some of the areas that were done on the side streets need some touch up. So that is
Same to everything.
That's what I was gonna say. How far apart, and I wish they would have took the picture.
is yeah, it's two different perspectives. One is looking down and one is looking up, and
It's a 700 block and what.
Right,
it's totally
right. And so unfortunately, you don't have the same view in the same direction. And that was bless you. That was one of the things that I asked our folks for. Can we get the same view from the same direction before and after? But unfortunately, that's not the way it was put together. So I apologize for that. So next slide, please. But it's funny you asked that, because that was the same thing that I said when I looked at it. 2023-24 goals. We had our cost share building improvement grants as of March 26, 2024. There were no awards. So we are learning what some of the challenges are. When we first talked about the fact that we did not have any awards, I think part of the critique was that we weren't getting the word out there. And so that's hence why we had the cards that went out to make sure that we blanketed the whole area to let everybody know that the building improvement grants was an option. And so please come in and apply. Through the course of this process, we've also heard feedback that it's a complicated process, that because it's complicated, it may be a barrier to some people applying. Furthermore, we also heard that that perhaps, like was said just recently, that asking people to match dollar for dollar up to 50,000 total meant that somebody would have to come out of their pocket for 25,000 in order to get the full $50,000 impact. And so this is the part of the feedback that we're learning as the process goes on. And you'll see in our 2024-25 goals that we have adjusted based on this feedback. We re-advertised with a May 24 deadline, shifted that to a 9/23/24 deadline to give people more of an opportunity. And we're still seeing similar results of unexpended funds because those grant options have not been taken advantage of. St. John's Avenue lighting was completed. The resurfacing from Fourth to the railroad is in progress. Ran into some issues that slowed that process down, but more or less we're on our way with that. Landscaping and on the sidewalks is in the planning stage. That's what we consider the next phase in the downtown St. John's Avenue beautification process. That we will now come back and do the sidewalks and the beautification associated with that. Additional lighting for all the TIF areas is also in planning. So we're waiting for that design and planning to come back so that we can then move forward with the actual work of improving the downtown look. We anticipate that that work will not take place until after Christmas. That way we're not affecting the Christmas season for downtown merchants. Sidewalk improvements, the South District, we've completed 527 linear feet. North District, we have 80 linear feet in progress. And in the Central District, first phase, we have 330 linear feet completed. Next slide, please. So on our 24-25 draft goals, we are continuing to include the potential for a CRA director or possibly a project manager. That the idea of pivoting and possibly going after a project manager is based on the realization that ultimately we need to drive these projects, whether it's under the head of a CRA director or a project manager that is dedicated to that. We've got to figure out a way to drive the utilization of these funds for the purpose of benefiting the original objectives of the CRA in the TIF districts. Develop lower tier blight removal grant program, and that's what we were talking about as the potential solution to the lack of utilization of funds. Getting a program that does not require that you have to have matching funds, but potentially going up to $25,000 to directly address blight in some of the homes in the districts. So I think that's what we're learning from the process, as I mentioned before, of how we can better expend those funds and reach the people that could take the best advantage of those funds. Additional decorative lighting for all the TIF districts. On the north end, sidewalks is part of our goal, increase the cost share grant utilization. And like I said, that could be the tier program where we're not requiring the matching funds in order to address some of the code violations and blight. Downtown, finalize the St. John's Avenue streetscape. Talked about the sidewalks and the beautification. That's part of our goal in the downtown area in conjunction with the St. John's Avenue project. Increase the cost share again and continue our SBDC funding in our south area sidewalks and increase again the cost share grant utilization, however we can achieve that. Next slide, please. Yes.
Going back to the project manager,
Mhm.
So is that just gonna be the project manager for the CRA district?
Yes.
Okay.
And so it's
It would have to be because the funding is
paid
coming.
for by the CRA.
Yes, sir.
Correct, it would have to be.
Because we had, the previous project manager worked across the whole city, so, but that's fine. So that position that we had, that the funds that we had allocated for the original professional engineer position, I guess that would need to be talked about in the commission funds, right?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Good question. Thank you. Looking at revenues. So our projected totals in 23-24 fiscal year are there. You got a chance to take a look at that in your package. And then our 24-25 proposed totals. Those are the totals. Ms. Carty went through that and then the budget projections and proposed totals for the 24-25 CRA budget. You see the line share is 1.5 in the central district, 152 in north and south, 517. And although it's not mentioned here, we are pursuing the RFP process of creating a TIF district in the areas that are west of 4.5 Fifth Street and north of Reed Street, north of Main Street. So we're awaiting those results to come back and the opportunity to be able to create that TIF district. Let's see. The majority of our unexpended funds are due to the rollover as a result of St. John's Avenue. So we've been amassing funds because we know that we have this expenditure coming up for St. John's Avenue in order to be able to make the payments for the road project and the next phase of the beautification, et cetera, and the lighting. One of the issues that were highlighted that you mentioned again is that low utilization of the cost share grants. Next slide. Okay. So I had been prepared to mention about the additional option of the $50,000 for the Elevate Putnam option. So we've already talked about that. I won't rehash that, but thank you for your feedback on that. Okay. So moving on to the North and South Increment Fund designation. You had a chance to take a look at the staff report. I did want to provide an opportunity. Go ahead, Mayor.
Do you want to start with the north?
That was, I think, the next one that we had.
Yeah, I'm going to recuse myself. I'll
Okay.
pass the gavel. And I'm recusing myself because the block that's going to be in discussion, my sister owns a home in it. And so. Because of that association.
Make sure you fill out the form.
She got the speech, Commissioner.
Okay.
Noted for the record, gavel passed to Commissioner Jones. I say that because I can't see it.
Thank you. Ms. Krantz, what was the page number that you had for the North District?
It's 38.
You said 338?
No, sir, 38.
38, okay. All right. So you had photos that were included in your package there. That's Miss Svetlik. Hopefully I didn't butcher that name. Had provided report information based on her concerns with regard to the flooding that was occurring in those areas. She was unable to be here with us today. I don't know if there's anybody from the audience that was here prepared to speak about that. Oh. So you can see some of the challenges that have occurred based on rainfalls that were not being properly pushed through our flood control system ultimately out into the river. And so the staff inspection about that has revealed that we have some flood control piping that needs to be addressed, manholes that need to be addressed that would alleviate the flooding that you see in those photographs. So ultimately, it is staff recommendation that we consider bringing in an architect to take a look at or an engineer to take a look at and assessing the condition of our flood control piping, which we we anticipate needs to be repaired and what those repairs would entail.
Can we just spend some money on drainage and on the drainage project?
Yes, and we have ongoing projects that are, I mean, we have a continuing service contract to deal with and address collapsed drain lines, collapsed sewer lines, and the need for relining those lines. The funding that we spent was not in this specific area, and this specific area would be eligible for CRA funding. And we could address it either through an RFP process or through a continuing services contract. If you could scroll up, there's there you go. So you see in that photograph there, yes. So that's the flooding location, and the direction of the flow should be going in the direction of the arrows. The existing drainage pipe is there, and that drainage pipe is not functioning properly, and that's what we believe is causing the flooding. So our focus would be to come in and take a look at that, TV the line, see to determine what are the necessary repairs in order to open that up.
How long would you expect that this process would occur?
I would say to get an engineering assessment done, we're looking at no more than 60 days in order to get that off the ground. Once we get the assessment, if we're able to use a continuing services contract, then you're talking about 45 days to 90 days on a continuing services contract, depending on their availability and the opportunity for them to come in and do the work. If we have to go to an RFP process, that needs to be advertised for at least 30 days. And depending on what the bids come back, we would have to assess how long it's going to take for them to be on site and to do the work.
So is there anything that maybe the city can do? And even if we had to divvy in CRA funds, like just say we have another raining spell like we had, for lack of a better word, before, so because this is dangerous.
Right.
So how can we help?
So we can look at potentially pumping to address the because if you can go back, so you can see the majority of the flooding from the rainfall on the property is not leaving the property. We could potentially push that water out into the street as opposed to it settling on the property, and that would be a pumping process. There's another photo, I think, if we go back to. So again, you see the streets are I mean, they're wet, but they're not flooded. So getting that water off of the low-lying property area onto the street could alleviate some of the immediate impacts associated with that. And so that's part of what I've asked our public works folks to take a look at.
So, but we haven't identified that it is a city issue, because you just mentioned how it's a low lying, and it looked like the house is up on stilts, like that has happened for some time. It's not like, it's just started happening. So, but my concern is the sidewalks are down on the low end
Mm-hmm.
as well. So as we know, we've known about the situation. I think we should have probably acted a little sooner as well. So, but what if it's engineer, just hypothetically,
Mm-hmm.
engineer come in and say, well, you close to the river and this is what you purchased. This is where you are. So do we go in and still, is it our responsibility? Is it the CRA to make?
No.
Right?
And then the first step in the process is to make sure that we, the city, is not failing to do what we need to do with flood control. If we've got a structure that is not functioning properly or is collapsed, then we need to look at what it takes to correct that. Once that is addressed and it does not alleviate the problem, then the conversation becomes a conversation with the homeowner. Because we've met our requirements, we've done what we need to do.
So the question, put more plainly, have we gone out and done an assessment to make certain that it's not a city of Palatka problem first?
No, we have not, and that's part of what we were hoping that we could get direction from the CRA to go ahead and address that.
You don't need direction from the CRA. That seems like that's a
city operation.
Yes.
The question, I think, that was was being posed by the assistant city manager was, can we use CRA funding to do that?
I think that's jumping the gun.
The
When you think,
assessing would be first,
Mm.
and then you bring the problem with some recommendation.
because again, you're getting us to say yes to something without us having due diligence done in the front end.
On the-
Mhm.
So I think we'll volley that one back to city manager and assistant city manager too. And then you bring it back with some. Yeah.
Okay.
Some, okay.
And point taken, understood.
Question. So the professional engineer position that we initially had 2 years ago
Mhm.
or three years ago, we need to really look at getting that position because that's the type of position that will help us in regards to a lot of the projects that we're having, whether it's road projects and among other things. And so we wouldn't have to continue to pay all of these engineering companies to keep coming in doing assessments every time there's a project.
Mhm.
So we can pay these individuals whatever the going rate is today and not having to pay that going rate every time we get a project.
Okay. And that's the way we've advertised that vacancy with in alignment with what you were just asking for. It's been my personal experience that the key value that I've been able to see from a PE is to be able to sign documents and assume the liability associated with the design. If you have that expertise in-house, you have the knowledge in-house, and not everything needs to be signed. And so we can move forward a lot less expensively if we have the right knowledge set in-house.
Yes, sir.
Mhm. Okay.
And the water.
Madam Mayor.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Commissioner.
Yes, I completely agree with Commissioner Jones and Commissioner Borum on this. I think the first step needs to be, is this a city issue at all before it comes to the CRA for funding or even potential funding? If it turns out to be a private issue on private property, then I don't see where the CRA should expend those funds.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Yep.
Move forward on that one.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner.
Is this the only one that the mayor need to be excused for?
I believe so.
Yeah, come back in. Thank you. On the cheap. I'm sorry. I was looking over your head.
It's a DOT.
Mr. Bell?
Yes. So I wanted to move on to the South District item. And I believe we do have people here that are interested in this. So what page do we have their item on?
It's a series of emails,
Mhm.
Mr. Manager. It begins on 44.
Okay. All right. So beginning on page 44, you see in your package the series of emails about the potential of addressing some of the questions and concerns on 4th Street. And I wanted to provide an opportunity if you wanted to say a few words concerning that.
Madam Mayor, there should be there be a timer.
Yes, 3 minutes. Well, I guess we'll have to, yes. And
It-
please give your name and act.
Tim Jefferson, 209 South 4th Street, Palatka, 32177. 4th Street between Oak and Laurel is the portion of 4th that we're speaking of. And there are a couple neighbors that are here also. This one side of the street are multifamily buildings. On the other side are single-family buildings. The multi-family side has about 13 units in this one block. One has 4, one has 4, one has 2, one has 2, one has 1. And this is the street that a lot of the people that are fishing with their boats, they leave the ramp area and come on Fourth. It's sort of by the DMV, if you know where that is, and catty corner to the Catholic Church. So it's a busy street for people coming down Krill, trying to get over to Reed, or from the ramp trying to get over to Reed, as well as the ship that comes and has a tour bus. They go right on this road quite a bit. So the curbs are all crumbled. They're old curbs. So that's one issue that's not safe, as well as the sidewalks. We have lots of people who walk from the riverfront over to this district. And so the sidewalks are all cracked and so forth. So we're looking for the curbing and the sidewalks in this area initially. And then as time goes on, we'd like to address the lighting. In this whole block, there's only one light for the whole street. And then as we get into the landscaping portion down the road, we'd like some trees put in there. There's only one tree on this side of the street. The other side has lots of trees, but the side that is closest to the river is what I'm speaking of. So I met with Jonathan Griffith and Mr. Bell and the neighbors, and it seems like there are some funds available for this, and so we're requesting that.
Mr. Bell?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Jefferson. So we don't currently have a cost estimate for some of the things that are requested there. This was a request that came to us from the members of the community to see if there was any appetite for addressing that. So we can come back to the CRA with a scope of work that identifies exactly what's being asked and what the costs associated with it would be, and get a determination from the commission, from the CRA, as how to move forward.
I would make a request that when stuff of this magnitude comes before us, that we do as much work as possible. Because again, with the CRA not meeting on a monthly basis as the commission does, it further prolongs or further kicks down the can down the road. And I say it all the time, we talk about stuff when it's hot or when it's present, but then we tend to forget about and it goes on the back burner until it's something that's hot again, or something that we haven't done. And it always come back to kind of hit us as a commission, because it's always said that, well, we were looking for direction. In events like this, I will again make the recommendation that what you're going to get out now, the information, that information be provided to us up front, so that we can make a sound decision as quick as possible to go ahead and address some of the needs of our citizens in our respective communities. We often, again, it's a revolving door. It appears as we never, it honestly appears sitting here that we don't get anything done, because we're always going out getting additional information, or we're going out getting this, we're going out to getting that, and we never see really a full scope of what we're doing. And it appears that sometimes we don't even see things get done. So I would make that recommendation, so we don't continue to belabor these points, or we want to see progress with these funds and all of those kind of things.
Understood.
The CRA budget projected funds, sidewalks and other such things. So it would be helpful, as Commissioner Campbell said, to come up with a specific amount for this particular block on this particular street. So we know from the overall allocation what we're working with here that impacts the whole South TIF or Central TIF district in this case.
I concur. Because if you would have brought a cost analysis and told us what it costs, we could say,
Yes or no, yay or nay?
Yeah, not to exceed this, that, and the third. So that's just.
want to do it. I can tell that this board want to take care of that, but we don't know how much it's gonna cost.
Right.
So we're not gonna just give you the purse, but so the request is, could you have that for us next time when you bring
Absolutely.
these kind of requests, or if you, especially when we know it's coming. So.
And we had a short period of time to try to shoehorn this in because we know that there is the commission only meets the CRA only meets every 2 months. So we didn't have an opportunity as of yet to be able to pull that together, but we
Well,
will
I think
have
it's
that.
an opportunity to, again, if we don't have information to bring forward to us, to have that conversation with the person who's bringing it to you. So it doesn't appear as if we're bringing them before us with false hope or something. Again, the more we have to bite on, the more that we are able to make a sound decision. We want to see things happening. We don't want to continue to kick the ball down the road. And it's with a great deal of respect to you. I know that you're just coming in and you're trying to get everything, but I think we have to get to the point, and Ms. Roach, she says it all the time. We have to do things. She brings several things before, and I use her as a soundboard because I do take in consideration what she brings to the commission or what she brings to the CRA. And other people within those respective TIF districts, they come and they voice. And again, I really don't see things happening because again, we push them down the road, we kick them down the road, and sometimes people just give up hope because they don't see anything moving. The excuse of us not having enough time, that's not an excuse anymore. We really have to put the metal to the pedal. We have to push the gas on go on some of these things and stop utilizing all of the excuses that we have to come forward. Some homework is better than no homework at all. And I just want us to not get into the habit of making citizens have to wait or getting citizens false hope, thinking that some things are going to happen when only thing we know when it comes before us, we're giving them a pacifier. We don't want to do that. We want to see things happening in our community.
Understood.
So as far as clear direction, I mean, the clear direction is to make sure you have complete information before it hit the commission or the CRA or whatever, so that we can take action when it come before us, as opposed to like Commissioner Campbell say, keep pushing it down the road because it looked like we're not prepared. And that's not what we need to be looking like.
Yeah, we have not given you the information that you need to make a sound decision. at this
Please,
point.
so please do not put anything else on the agenda that reflects what we just got.
Any additional questions for Mr. Bell? Okay, on this topic. Commissioner Turner? No? Okay.
I'm
On
good,
to
thank
the
you.
third, okay,
He just said nothing.
okay. Third item, FPL Reed Street decorative lighting and median request.
Okay, so thank you. FDOT,
I just want to make sure that there's no unreadiness.
What's going on? Yeah. Go ahead.
okay, thank you, Mayor. So, we had the presentation at the previous CRA, where the request was along the lines of medians, on Reed Street, and the guidance that we got was that the commission, and I believe the vote that the commission took was for a median at First Street. FDOT took that into consideration. They did their public input here in the chambers here, and as a result of the public input, they submitted a request for not only the First Street median, but the second piece median that just to the west of First Street. They feel that in addition to the median that was voted on and approved by the CRA, that there's some value in the one immediately to the west of it. They would quite frankly like the rest of the medians, but they were willing to get behind those two medians, the one that you've already approved and that second one. Based on that information, we had projected, based on projected analysis of cost for the design fee of 27,333, construction estimate of 109,855, and corridor lighting in the amount of 33,089, with and that's for materials. and an overall construction estimate of 400,000. One of the things that the commission asked for in previous meetings was some type of indication of what the lighting could potentially look like. That was included in your package. So at this point, the information is there before you, and the staff recommendation giving the funding consideration. The staff is requesting confirmation from you, the CRA, if you would like to move forward with the FDOT project. FDOT would like an answer as quickly as possible.
At the second median, they're recommending for traffic safety reasons.
That's correct.
Just
Right. Yes, I'm sorry. I should have said that.
I'm glad you brought that up because I do have a little bit of footage. Yes, I just randomly picked this spot. I mean, just going through
Mhm.
and I like to share this with you, what it looked like coming up on, when you're talking about taking away a turn lane. You're gonna back up this traffic a lot further. Right. So I already, I got a little bit of more. This,
But,
I sent you.
can I ask a question?
This.
So-
It's still 21.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, can Commissioner Jones?
And while you're doing that,
What you're saying.
Yeah, he wants to, okay. go
So the
ahead. You have
question
floor.
was, this commission voted no on the second. So how do it come back? You go staff recommend. And staff recommend that we go along with what FDOT said. We actually experienced that traffic and we collectively said no to the second median.
Mhm.
How do it come back to us again?
So good question. So the reason why it's coming back again is because this is an FDOT project. They are doing the work from curb to curb on Reed Street, and they are wanting to collaborate with the city in getting this work done. So based on their architects and traffic engineers, this was their suggestion and recommendation. So I'm bringing that
We
back
had
to you.
information. Decision. We had that same information. We said no. And we also said, it was in the notes that let's do the first one and see how that works. And then we'll consider the second one. We even talked about even further down the road on 9th Street.
Mhm.
We didn't agree with closing the roads there with a traffic calming device because the same thing would happen. 9th Street is a monster once you get there, rush hour traffic.
Yeah.
When someone's trying to make a left-hand turn on there, that road backs up all the way back to almost sometimes to 7th Street.
I'm trying to get to it.
So I don't think putting a median there would help at all.
Well,
Go ahead.
they're only asking at this point because they've abandoned the median suggestions, recommendations further down the road for the area from First Street and in front of Memorial Parkway.
And it's not going to stop people. It's going to stop people in turning left on these two places because it is a danger for people to turn left there. But I think for the rest of the street, it is a safety issue. It's not going to stop people from turning. Slowing down traffic is kind of the point because it is dangerous the way traffic flies down that street. Now, and we did go forward and say as a commission, as a total board, as a CRA board and commission that afterward that we were in favor of multiple medians, just the one at the base of the bridge. But they have the expertise as traffic and civil engineers that I don't have. So out of due respect for that, I understand what, where they're coming from in terms of the second median, which we're only talking about two right now. But go ahead, Commissioner.
But
Warren.
how do we know that I mean, did we get anything from them saying that? But the thing with that is, I think we said we would do it in phases. So if we said phases to see what it would look like, I think, I mean, I think we ought to just try to phase.
I know.
We didn't say no to future amendments to the project. I mean, we didn't say no, we just said that we want to try this phased approach.
And I believe that their response was that they didn't think that they could do this in phases. I know that was the interest.
Can they send us something? Did we get anything in writing? Did we get anything in writing?
I don't have what they responded in writing in front of me, so.
Okay, just show them what we ruled on, because we said
Which
that when we went through that, we walked through it, we said, okay, is it all or nothing? Then they said we could phase it.
Well, they are trying to phase, they're not trying to do all or nothing. They are trying to phase two medians and I'm just stating what is in place, but and they have a budget cycle and they have to plan in advance because they're covering the whole state. So I think that if we can get something, I know they want a decision sooner than later. Apparently, we're not ready to make a decision if it includes a second median yet without more information. Is that correct? So I think we do need a little bit more information about their rationale and validation for the second median before we can make a final decision.
And this goes back to what I was saying, to make it feel as if we're rushed to or forced to make a decision, because again, I believe that conversation was lengthy. We asked several questions in which we brought up today. And if it's going to appear, we understand the recommendation, but if it's going to appear, they might as well tell us what we can do or what they want us to do, and not give us the option to tell them what we think would work best for our community.
Okay.
Any other questions on that?
Madam Mayor,
Yes, go ahead, Commissioner Turner.
I agree with this conversation completely. We already had this, and while I truly respect the opinion of the traffic engineers at DOT, it is still just an opinion. And I know they probably have more experience, but I don't think they have more experience on local conditions than what we have driving over that bridge every day and seeing what's there. So I think we need to go back to DOT and tell them that we want to do what we discussed last time around, which was a median on the first street. Hope that'll calm the traffic enough that it'll make a difference. But the last thing we'd want to do is calm the traffic so much that it turns that into a traffic jam. So I just have to agree with all the other conversation that's gone on from the other commissioners.
Okay.
Thank you.
All righty. Thank you very much. And I'm going to hand it off to our SBDC.
Or
Now,
it's the MOU.
Now, before
Go ahead.
we can transition, because what I'm about to say is going to be a reflection with regards to the memorandum of understanding. Again, I want us to take in consideration, we do not have an attorney here present with us to advise us should any questions become one that needs to be directed to an attorney.
One last thing on the, I want, you said that for 2024, 2025 year, we are creation of the new CRA district is one of the other priorities as well, correct?
That's correct.
But it wasn't in the slide deck.
It should have been in the 23-24 because we're actively working on it, and it should have been in the 24-25 as well. So I apologize.
Funded through the information and the gathering of information to develop that.
That's right.
The funding comes from the general fund, right?
That's correct.
It doesn't come from the CRA.
Right.
So
If and when it was created,
that's
then
different.
right.
Then we're in a different place, but at this point, we're not there yet.
Correct.
If I may,
You meant?
I want to bring us back to understand that this meeting is the meeting in which we need the CRA board to approve our budget. And we have the final numbers. We have a balanced budget for CRA. It's 2,188,000. So what I am suggesting that we consider, we need the budget to be approved, and we could say that if we have any minor adjustments, we will send it back out to you. But we pretty much have, the CRA budget is balanced.
So you asked us to accept it.
Yes, sir, with me. Do you want me to, I don't mind going up. Let me go up.
Your mic on if it's, if you want to ask a question. Yes, please.
Madam Mayor, if I may, while she's coming up, I just wanted to let the CRA know that this is the last regularly scheduled CRA meeting prior to the passing, the first and second reading of the budget in September for the commission.
Thank you. I think we were aware of that, but thank you.
And that is pretty much why, I'm stopping us for a moment. Thank you, City Clerk. That I want you to realize that we do have a balanced budget for CRA. The amount is 2,188,828. The comments that have been made will be reflected, particularly like that 75 will be lowered to that 25, et cetera. So I'm asking you to consider approving this budget and that we will send it back to you with any minor adjustments that we may have so that we meet our responsibility for today.
And we wouldn't at this time be approving the MOU. So as Commissioner Campbell said, without legal representation, we can hold on that, but separate from the budget approval itself.
Exactly. And we do have that 25,000 amount reflected.
I would like to make a motion to approve the CRA budget as presented.
Second.
We have a motion, a second, all in favor?
Well,
Aye.
Madam Mayor,
Any opposition? Oh, sorry, go ahead, Commissioner Turner.
my only question on our discussion was, is the motion was as presented, but it was presented with the 75. And so I think it needs to say as amended during the meeting today.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I can rescind that motion
Okay.
to make a corrected motion to approve the CRA budget as amended, as noted in this meeting, to reflect the line item that has been
Identified. Yes, sir.
in the amount from 75,000 to
25.
25,000.
Correct.
Second.
We have a motion, a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Thank you.
Thank you.
And we are with the MOU, we're tabling that.
Right. Do you still want the input from? Okay.
Sorry, Madam Mayor, has there been a motion to table that
No,
item?
I'm asking, that's why we're having this discussion before we do anything. We need a motion, and that's why I'm asking for clarification.
I feel like we should not have any discussion. We talked about this extensively at our last meeting. I don't want anything to be able, and with a great deal of respect to small business development, but we just had this conversation and we don't want anything to come back and
Without,
taunt us or bite us for making a decision without any sound legal advice, should that arise.
So I think what I'm asking for is a motion to
I
table.
make a motion that we table the item B for direction and recommendation with regards to the Small Business Development Center Memorandum of Understanding.
I second.
hold on. You need a date certain.
Be the October meeting.
That needs to be included.
I'll friend it to the October meeting.
Okay.
Second that motion.
We have a motion, a second, all in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Thank you. Item C, again,
I request the same thing because it's asking us for discussion and direction. And again, should anything come with regards to this extension, I'll make a motion that we table this to a time certain to our next meeting, October.
we have that motion and also the applicant is out of the country due to death in his family, so he is not able to be here anyway, so he was requesting it to table, so it's doubly tabled. So we have a motion to table until the next CRA meeting in October. We have
Second.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Thank you.
Okay.
And then we have the Small Business Development Center report, Mr. Paul.
Paul's given me a handout of his upcoming event. May I pass that forward?
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Commissioners, staff, and all the folks gathered about. Rick Paul, 1100 Reed Street for the Small Business Development Center. I think part of the issue was that in the meeting notes in the previous CRA meeting mentioned $50,000. That's the total. That was the goal between the CRA and the county. So the total. So the CRA would increase from 20 to the 25,000. And then the county was to go from 12 to 22. That's what was actually requested. So coming up in front of you, you have another SBA event that's coming up. It's called a Lenders Roundtable. This will be the fourth time that the Small Business Administration representatives have been here to Palatka this year. They've been to both of the CRA meetings at the Azalea City Brewing Company. And we had a workshop not too long ago on July 23rd that Rosalind Bryant put on and Donnie Anderson at the Chamber of Commerce called Access to Capital. So the one coming up in October is called the Lenders Roundtable. That's really targeting the actual lenders in the area to try to increase the small business activity and small business lending for this particular area. Coming up, let's see. Oh, the reports that I get, I'm forwarding on to you. I think you have some of the ones in front of you, but again, the goals that the Small Business Development Center has for me. The first one is number of unique clients. I'm number 2 out of an 18 county region with 188 so far this year. Second goal is capital by consultant. Right now I'm showing 1.5 million, but I had a $1 million project I just found out about today. So I'm up to 2.5 million, which puts me in third place for the 18 county region. The third goal is new business starts. Currently I'm at 4, but I got 6 queued up. So that puts me at 10, which puts me in fourth place in the 18 county region. And then the last one is hours by consultant. I'm currently in third place for the total number of hours that I've been consulting with. I've got something that you guys might be interested in. I hope so. Next week at the Marriott at Sawgrass, the State Small Business Development Center Conference is being held. There's an event Monday, but the big part is on the Tuesday. I believe it does cost a fee to get into it, but there's about 20 different seminars and webinars you can go to, talking everything from breaking into government contracting, cybersecurity, understanding capital, a meeting with vendors, and there's about 20 or 25 different seminars that occur. So that would be Tuesday, next Tuesday at the Marriott at Sawgrass, if you would be interested in attending. With that being said, I know I'm the last one up and it's been a long meeting. Does anybody have any questions?
Maybe you have any questions of Mr. Paul? No. Thank you.
Thank you, commissioners.
I just
Go ahead.
I really want to, prior to ending this meeting, I really want us to reiterate, in the event of us not having an attorney, whether it's in this platform or any other city-related meeting, that we consider alternative options, seeking outside counsel. We are not able to fully function or fully do the business of the city in the absence thereof, because at any given point, we don't know if there is a legal question to be asked. And I believe that in this instance, time should be approved regardless of if it's yay or nay. And in the event that it's always a yay on a meeting date, we should have alternative options with regards to attorney. This slows down the function or productivity of the city when we do not have legal counsel present of any sorts.
We did make that clear prior to in another meeting that we did not have the city attorney, and Commissioner Campbell did move to cease the meeting as it related to anything for legal matters. So again, I concur with Commissioner Campbell that we should have somebody who is already in place so business continuity can continue on in the absence of our legal counsel. And we've been having quite a few instances of not having legal counsel, so we need to make sure that we have some alternative in place. And I concur with Commissioner Campbell.
And I will accept responsibility for that. The absence of the city attorney here, there was a conflict that occurred between family and work, and it was my advice that family should come first in that situation. So I apologize for that faux pas, and I
Completely understand, but then again, family comes first, but we should always have them around in the bush.
understood.
Thank
So,
you.
going
I
forward.
think you've gotten the message.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any further business for the CRA? With that.